Yes, guys, good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you're watching from. Please like, subscribe, and share. Right, hit the subscribe button right here. Now, we rock. That's right. That's right. It's about time. Nebona, the 103.5 FM. It's time for us to cause social change. It's time to play the roles of ombudsmanship. It's time to be the conscience of the society right now. The reason why there is so much get rich quick syndrome in the world today, in our society, in Nigeria today, is because of prosperity messages. It is good to have positive message to give it to people, but some positive messages are actually you know designed or are tools that will destroy the society even more. Good evening and welcome to this wonderful spirit and knowledge filled edition of Street Report on Ebona, the 103.5 FM. I remain the one and only Martin IFEANYICHUKWU Ekezie as our number the first, the one that I call Metal. Before I go any further on the topic of today on this particular edition of Street Report on Ebona, the 103.5 FM, here is an announcement about two missing persons. They are sisters. The first one is Blessing Brown Ozenwa. She is dark in complexion. She is 16 to 17 years old, a teenager. She wore black trouser and shirt. The second person is Omwegena Christabel Brown Ozenwa. She is fair in complexion, 14 to 15 years old. She wore a flower red gown. They are natives of Edo State. They were last seen at Assembly's bus stop, uh, Iyenu Ogidi. Assembly's bus stop, Iyenu Ogidi. They were headed towards Afompo. Anybody with information on these two sisters should contact their father, Mr. Christian Brown Osenwa, on 080 371 04059. I take it again, 080 371 04059. Your efforts will be appreciated very much. Now, if you talk about the good old days and the values that existed then, the days we are talking about is not even too long ago. The kind of foul mind you find today, you can't find it those days. I'm talking about 70s, 80s, though there were, sketches of ill happenings, but, it's quite different from today. I'll give you an example. When Otokoto, if you will remember, he was a ritualist that was caught in the act back in the days. He was, apprehended and he answered for it at the end of the day. Now, but when he was caught in the first place, it was a new thing to our people. It wasn't so much rampant like it is today. People talked about it for months, for a long time. People kept talking about it, Otokoto. Then people marveled at, the fact that someone will even decide to use a fellow human being for ritual killings and all of that. It was the first of its kind then. A lot of racial killings is now happening on daily basis today. People are no more interested in being patient, working hard and then staying patient. And so it brought a lot of things to our society today. Now, I want to tell you that this thing that I'm talking about now, this thing I'm complaining about now, is as a result of prosperity messages. They're preached by many pastors. Today, the truth is scarce on our streets. Today, it is hard to find the truth, justice. What cost, it may take. How did it come about in the first place? The message of prosperity by, a lot of men of God. So at a time, men of God became conscious about making money, more money and more money. So it became a message of sow your seed, or sow your seed and get prosperity, or sow your seed and get heaven. A lot of things, went down. But today, the things of God are not the things of man. That's one thing we must put into consideration. That's why you can see that today, most of those men of God that preached that prosperity message today are apologizing for what they did. That's one thing we must pay attention to. Some of them preached these things about tithing, and now they are apologizing. And the message is that, they were wrong, that one can be wrong, and all of that. Now, I am not saying that you won't prosper. I'm not saying that, it is not good to think, to be positive about oneself. I'm only saying that life is a process. So this and more will be the course of our discussion on this particular edition of a Street Report on Obelna, the 103.5 FM, with Monwa Martin, IFEANYICHUKWU, Ekezie, as our number the first, the one that I call Metal. Stick around with this one from Luciano, and I will be right back. Says it is hard that there is no God, but it is hard he must be made. Oh, yeah. Who went to them to shine? And who will be at the time? Who created me and you, mankind? Oh, well, yeah, yo. Sing you a song. I hope you're listening along. What I am saying, the root is not of way. He made the birds to fly. He made the mountains so high. Oh, only a fool says to me heart that there is no God, but he must be made. He must be. Who made the sun to shine? Who the end of time? And who created you and me? Make God, hope that you learn the words I sing to you. What I say, oh, he
He made the baby cry, and he made you down. Oh, yeah, oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Says in his heart that there is no God, but he must be man. We must be man. Oh, yeah. Who is the sun to shine? Who's the end of time? And who created me and you? Mankind. Oh, yeah. Who made the birds to fly? And who made the mountains to rise? And who created me and you?
That's right. Only a fool will say that there is no God. That's his own thinking. But there's one thing in this lifetime, if you want, you accept the fact. If you want, you disregard the fact. But the truth is that, the truth is the truth at the end of the day. So the principles of life must always play itself out, no matter how we go about it. You might try to go about it in short, with shortcuts at the end of the day, but you will still arrive at the main point, which is patience is vital for our lives. The message of prosperity is, affecting the youth so much that no one wants to stay diligent anymore. They are all looking at the wealth of people who are much older than they are and want to become those people or be those become that thing. Whatever they are looking at overnight immediately, without thinking about how much time it took those people to get to the position where they are today. That's just the thing. So you are welcome back to Straight Report on Ebon at the 103.5 FM. Omonwa Martin IFEANYICHUKWU Ekezie Ezeanumba D was the one that I call Metal. And we are talking about something that is very important. I tell you from time to time that this street report is basically about, people who can think deep about stuff, and talk about what is, very deep, philosophical, at the same time, looking at it the way it affects our lives, in the physical. Now, I am not the only one who is talking about this. There is also a man of God who is complaining about what is going on. And he says he's easy on prosperity gospel. Founder and shepherd of Locust Army International Church, Reverend Chris Christian, has decried the passion for materialism, addressing journalists at the church Global Ministers Convention in Aja, Lagos. Christian said the church has lost its respect because preachers preach to please politicians for what they will gain from them. He said the church emphasizes prosperity instead of salvation. Pastors should contribute to advance the country rather than extorting people. He said the message of prosperity is good, but sometimes it is overdone, and this leads to greed, and the purpose is misunderstood. I believe you don't need to be extremely rich to be a child of God. That's what he's saying. I am not saying the church is completely the problem of this country. What I mean is sometimes the message of prosperity is not properly understood. The cleric cautioned the body of Christ to find solace in God rather than groups and associations that are apolitical. Christians should not rely on certain bodies or groups as the solution to the nation's problem. What Nigeria needs is a genuine process because Christian Association of Nigeria is political. he said. However, he described a prayer as a weapon that can solve challenges confronting the nation today. The way out of our challenges is prayer. Although prayer may not have immediate answers, we must genuinely commit everything to God in prayers, he said. So, coming to that one now, you see that even prayers that he's talking about, patience is needed. Now, talking about this prosperity issue, you see that a lot of men of God, have apologized over time about the false teaching of prosperity. And the first person that did this is Pastor Benny Hinn, who apologized on his prosperity gospel and prophecy. He talked about it deeply, and he shared on his Facebook a video where he apologized to his followers for giving, for giving him everything he has been asking. He said to Christians, he apologized to Christians for false teaching on, prosperity. He said, "Forgive me for my false teachings over the years." He said, "Forgive me for my wrong teachings over the years." Benny Hinn, balancing the prosperity message at the end of the day. Yes, one must prosper, but there are other things to it. It's not just about, okay, go and prosper. You do whatever it is, you prosper, without teaching about, how, because Christianity as a whole is a way of life, without teaching about that way of life, how to be respectful towards another human being, how to, love God. Loving God is loving a human being. Just all of that is thrown away, and all we hear about is you will prosper. You will prosper without talking to the people, without appealing to the conscience of the people about what the true message of God is supposed to be. Now, Pastor Benahin is not the only pastor that is apologizing for these false teachings. Pastor Adeboye of Redeemed Christian Church of God is also apologizing. And he says, "I apologize for saying if you don't pay your tithe, you might not make it to heaven. I am sorry, that's wrong. And it's not in the Bible. What the Bible says is follow peace with all men and holiness, without which no man shall see God," he said. So when you talk about the issue of prosperity and tithing and all of that, it has nothing to do with, you coming in contact with your maker at the end of the day. Yes, you are tuned to Ebona the 103.5 FM, and this is Trade Report unfolding right before your before now. If you're looking at it the way it is, because this is not the only people, like these two pastors I mentioned now, Pastor Adeboye, Benin, they are not the only ones apologizing for that false message of prosperity. Now, American preacher who goes by the name Grateful Dollar confesses on his false teaching on of tithing over the years. The preacher who has been preaching this for a long time apologized, in front of everybody, in front of his congregation. He apologized for false teachings. Now, this is how it went down. The prosperity preacher admitted he's been preaching the wrong gospel when it comes to tithe, stressing that tithing is of the Old Testament at the end of the day. You see it? But the problem I have with all of these apologies is not like, yes, if somebody should ask for apology, that will not, forgive the way the person is asking for the forgiveness in the first place. But the thing here is that these things, this message already have caused a lot of decay in our society today. So it's not basically about just apologizing. It's about how do we get it right again, because now the get rich quick syndrome is there. And this message is not even doing anything to the fact that a lot of our youths are willing to kill, to do a lot of things today just to get by. The ritual killings we hear about on daily basis is out of this world. Now, look at this. The Reverend Cleric admitted that his statement that Christians who refuse to pay tithe might not enter heaven lacked biblical backing, at the end of the day. So, what is your take on this matter? Remember that what we are trying to solve here is to, find a solution to the decay already, the decadence in our society today caused by that prosperity message. How do we, change the situation back to what it used to be? As a people, in order to get it right is to talk about it, and that is what I'm doing now. We are talking about it. It costs in our society. What do you think of all of this? Now, the numbers you call and then you become part of the conversation remains 08065796599. I need to hear from you about this. Yes, AI na-akpa maka ya today maka ozioma a na-adịzi n'ụka na-aka ọsụ, a lot of things in our society. N'ụka ụfọdụ, not all, enwere ndị nke man yotago na even when you give people hope and all of that you must also direct them to understand the ways of God, to understand, the principles of God at the end of the day, and not expect that no hapụkwa na ozugbo ebulu ike anywhere, anytime. And these things bianaga on because now most churches other address can there be see where yotago at the end of the day. Now you see that most other address and because of that nobody can go anywhere and get anything, and once they come into that fold again they will be they will be welcomed. Nobody will ask Ekezie where Keri Heme. Yes, nkata anyị na-akpa ebe a all the time na-abụ nkata na-adị deep, nkata ndị ma ife ga-etinye ọnụ na ya, ọ bụrụ nkata for everybody, nọ ndị ga-ama ife tinye ezigbote ọnụ na ya, na like in the sense na anyị etinye ọnụ ka anyị na-etinye ọnụ ka anyị na-echepe our society the best way we can, as we are talking about it, we are fixing the situation, and that's what we are doing here. So the numbers ị ga-akpọ kịta ka isolu wee kpaa nkata wee gwa anyị ilu maka ihe niile anyị na-ekwu maka ya na mgbede abụọ the issue of get rich quick syndrome, which is caused by prosperity messages. I don't know most times, which now most men of God now apologizes now for those kind of messages at the end of the day. Kedi hilo na ya befe 08065796599. Call this number and then you become part of the conversation. Now, one of the things in Mega saying I get Jalanya will below the fact that Naka and preach this prosperity messages in and preach Nigeria kept going down economically. You know, can only preach. Why not? Since they preach with these prosperity messages now, Nigeria economy Nigeria now bugo.